My beloved soul, stop for a moment, take a breath, and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not just another message passing through your screen. This is a moment that was meant to reach you. Out of millions of voices, millions of distractions, something inside you paused and pulled you here. That quiet pull in your heart was not random. It was a signal. Because right now, somewhere in this world, someone who is deeply connected to your soul is standing at the edge of a decision that could change the path between you forever. And the universe is whispering something urgent to you. 2 minutes remaining. Yes, my beloved soul, the time between you and a life-changing moment is shorter than you think. Your soulmate, the one whose energy has touched your spirit in ways no one else ever could, is on the verge of disappearing from your path forever. Not because the connection was weak. Not because the bond was imaginary. But because sometimes life places two souls in different storms at the same time. And when that happens, silence grows, distance grows, and choices become heavier than the heart can carry. Right now your soulmate is thinking about you. Not casually, not lightly, but with a depth that even they are struggling to understand. There was a moment recently when your name, your memory, your presence crossed their mind so suddenly that it made them pause in the middle of everything they were doing. It felt strange to them, like an invisible thread pulling at their chest. They tried to ignore it at first. They told themselves it was nothing. But the feeling didn't leave. It stayed, growing louder in the quiet moments, appearing when they were alone, whispering when the night became too silent. And then something happened. Something that changed the energy between you. Your soulmate wrote a message. Not a normal message, not something simple like, "How are you?" This message carried everything they have been holding inside for so long, the confusion, the longing, the fear, the hope. Their hands hesitated while typing it. They erased parts of it again and again because they were afraid that once those words left their heart, nothing could ever go back to the way it was before. My beloved soul, the reason this moment feels so intense is because deep connections like this are rare. Most people walk through life meeting thousands of faces that never touch their spirit. But when a soulmate connection appears, it shakes something deep inside both people. It awakens emotions that cannot easily be explained. It creates memories that refuse to fade. And even when distance or silence appears, the bond continues breathing quietly beneath everything else. That is exactly what is happening right now. Your soulmate has been trying to move forward with their life, trying to convince themselves that letting go is the easier path. But every time they take a step away, something reminds them of you. A song. A random place. A moment of silence where your presence suddenly feels real again. And this constant reminder has brought them to a crossroads. That message they wrote, the one they almost sent, holds the truth they have been hiding from themselves. But here is where the tension begins. Because while their heart is pushing them to reach out, their mind is warning them to walk away before the feelings become stronger. They are afraid of what this connection could mean. Afraid of the intensity. Afraid that if they open the door again, they might never be able to close it. My beloved soul, this is why the universe is saying 2 minutes remaining. Not literally in the sense of a clock ticking on your wall, but in the sense that a window of energy is closing. A moment where courage and fear are fighting inside your soulmate's heart. If courage wins, they may step forward and allow this connection to continue unfolding. But if fear wins, they may decide to disappear completely, convincing themselves that distance is the only way to protect their heart. And here is the part that may shock you the most. That message they wrote, the one sitting unsent, begins with words they never thought they would admit. Words that reveal how deeply you have affected their life. They wrote about how your presence changed the way they see themselves. They wrote about the strange comfort they feel when thinking about you. They even wrote about the nights when they wondered if the universe brought you into their life for a reason bigger than coincidence. But halfway through writing it, doubt appeared. Doubt whispered questions inside their mind. What if the timing is wrong? What if reaching out changes everything? What if the other person has already moved on? These doubts made their fingers freeze above the screen. And that is where the story is paused right now, suspended between two possibilities. One path leads to silence and distance, where the message is deleted and the connection slowly fades into a memory that both of you carry quietly for years. The other path leads to courage, where the message is finally sent and the truth between your souls is allowed to breathe again. My beloved soul, the reason you felt drawn here today is because your energy is connected to this moment more than you realize. When two souls share a deep spiritual bond, their emotions and thoughts often move like waves across the same ocean. Even when they are far apart, something invisible keeps them linked. That strange feeling you sometimes get, the sudden memories, the unexplainable emotions, those are not accidents. They are echoes of the same connection your soulmate is feeling right now. But here is the truth most people never understand. Soulmate connections are not always simple love stories. Sometimes they appear to teach lessons, awaken growth, or reveal parts of ourselves that were sleeping. Sometimes they arrive during complicated chapters of life where timing, fear, and personal struggles create barriers that neither person expected. And yet, even in those complicated moments, the bond itself remains real. That is why your soulmate cannot simply erase the way they feel. Even when they try to focus on other things, your presence keeps returning to their mind like a quiet echo. My beloved soul, right now their heart is beating faster than usual. They are staring at that message again, reading it one more time, wondering if sending it will open a door that changes everything between you. And deep inside them, there is a voice asking one powerful question: what if this connection was never meant to disappear at all? That question is the reason they have not pressed delete yet. That question is the reason the message still exists. Because even though fear is loud, something deeper inside them believes that the bond between you is not ordinary. Something inside them senses that your paths crossed for a reason that neither of you fully understands yet. And as these thoughts move through their heart, the universe continues whispering softly, 2 minutes remaining. A moment of decision is approaching. A moment where your soulmate must choose whether to follow fear, or follow the truth they feel when they think about you. And the most mysterious part of all is that the final line of the message they wrote contains a confession so unexpected, so raw, that if it ever reaches you, it will change the way you see this entire connection forever. But what those final words say, and whether they will ever be sent, is something that only the next moment will reveal. My beloved soul, if you are still here listening, then it means something inside you refuses to turn away from this message. That quiet pull you feel in your chest right now is not imagination. It is the echo of a connection that is alive somewhere beyond what the eyes can see. And while you are sitting here reading these words, your soulmate is still staring at that message they wrote, the message that holds a truth they have never spoken aloud before. Their heart is moving between courage and fear like waves crashing against each other. One moment they feel ready to press send, ready to finally let their soul speak. But the next moment doubt whispers again, telling them that some connections are too powerful to risk, too deep to disturb. My beloved soul, what makes this moment so intense is that your soulmate did not plan to think about you today. They were living their life, moving through their routine, trying to keep their mind busy with other things. But then something unexpected happened. A small, ordinary moment triggered a memory of you. It might have been a song that reminded them of your energy. It might have been a phrase someone said that sounded exactly like something you once told them. Or it might have been a quiet pause where suddenly your face appeared in their mind without warning. And when that memory appeared, it did not feel light or casual. It felt powerful, almost overwhelming. It felt like a door opening inside their heart that they thought had already been closed. They tried to push the feeling away at first. They told themselves it was just nostalgia, just a random memory. But the more they tried to ignore it, the stronger the feeling became. Because soulmate connections do not disappear simply because time passes. When two souls have touched each other deeply, the energy between them continues to exist, quietly moving beneath the surface of everyday life. And that is exactly what your soulmate is experiencing right now. They are realizing something they tried not to admit before. They are realizing that no matter how much distance appeared between you, the memory of you never truly faded from their heart. My beloved soul, when they began writing that message, their hands were slightly shaking. Not because they were nervous about typing words on a screen, but because those words carried emotions they had kept hidden for so long. Each sentence felt like opening a door inside themselves. They wrote about the first moment they felt that strange familiarity with you, the feeling that they had somehow known your soul before this lifetime even began. They wrote about the way your presence changed their perspective on life, making them question things they had never questioned before. And then they wrote something even deeper. They admitted that after meeting you, every connection they tried to build with someone else felt incomplete. Not because those people were not kind or genuine, but because something about the energy between you and them felt impossible to replace. My beloved soul, these were not easy confessions for them to write. Every word forced them to confront emotions they had tried to bury beneath responsibilities, expectations, and the complicated reality of life. And yet, despite the fear, they continued writing. Because somewhere deep inside them, a voice kept whispering that honesty is sometimes the only way a soul can breathe freely again. But as the message grew longer, another emotion appeared, a heavy fear of consequences. They began imagining what might happen if the message was actually sent. What if it reopened feelings that neither of you were prepared to face? What if it created a path that would require difficult decisions, uncomfortable truths, and changes neither of you expected? My beloved soul, this is the silent battle happening inside them right now. The heart is pulling them toward honesty, toward the possibility of reconnecting with a soul that still lives in their memories. But the mind is warning them about the risks, about the chaos that truth can sometimes bring. And so they sit there, reading the message again and again, wondering whether the safest choice is simply to erase it and walk away forever. But here is something they do not fully understand yet. When two souls share a bond that strong, walking away does not erase the connection. It only pushes it into the quiet corners of the heart where it continues to exist as a question that never receives an answer. That is why your soulmate cannot simply delete the message and feel peace. Even when they try to convince themselves to let go, something inside them resists. Something inside them remembers the way their spirit felt when you were part of their world. My beloved soul, the universe has a mysterious way of bringing certain souls together at moments that seem impossible to explain. Sometimes those meetings happen during complicated phases of life, when both people are still learning lessons about themselves, still growing, still discovering what love truly means. And because of that timing, the connection may pause, separate, or even appear to disappear for a while. But the energy between those souls does not vanish. It simply waits for the moment when truth becomes stronger than fear. Right now, your soulmate is closer to that moment than ever before. Their eyes are moving slowly across the screen of their phone, rereading the final lines they wrote. Those lines contain something they never thought they would admit to anyone, not even to themselves. Because hidden inside those final words is a realization that has been quietly growing in their heart for a long time. A realization that the connection between you was never ordinary, never accidental, never something that could simply be replaced by another person. My beloved soul, the last line of that message holds a confession so raw that even reading it makes their heart race. It is the kind of truth that once spoken cannot be taken back. The kind of truth that changes the way two souls see each other forever. And that is why their finger is hovering above the screen right now, uncertain whether to press send or to close the message forever. The universe is silent, waiting. Their heart is beating louder than usual. And somewhere deep inside them, a quiet voice is asking one final question: what if letting this connection disappear becomes the biggest regret of my life? My beloved soul, moments like this are rare in a lifetime. They are crossroads where destiny and free will stand side by side, waiting for a human heart to choose a direction. Your soulmate is standing at that crossroads right now, feeling the weight of every possibility that could follow their decision. If they send the message, the truth between you may finally come into the light. Emotions that have been hidden may finally find a voice. A new chapter of understanding may begin. But if they choose silence instead, if they convince themselves that disappearing is easier than facing the truth, then this connection may fade into one of those haunting memories that both souls carry quietly for years, wondering what might have happened if courage had spoken louder than fear. My beloved soul, the strange part is that while your soulmate is fighting this inner battle, your energy is closer to them than you realize. Because when two souls share a deep spiritual bond, the universe often creates subtle ways for them to feel each other's presence even across distance. That sudden thought you had earlier today. That unexpected emotion that appeared without explanation, those moments are not always coincidences. Sometimes they are echoes of the same connection moving through both hearts at the same time. And right now, that invisible thread between you is vibrating with intensity because a decision is approaching. Your soulmate's breathing has slowed as they look at the screen again. Their mind is quieter now, almost as if they are listening for guidance from somewhere deeper than logic. They read the final sentence once more, the sentence that reveals what their heart truly feels about you. And as they sit there in silence, the universe whispers again. 2 minutes remaining. A final moment before the choice is made. A final moment before either courage or fear shapes the future of this connection. And the most unbelievable part, my beloved soul, is that if that message is finally sent, the truth inside those final words will reveal something about your soulmate's feelings that you never expected to hear, something that will completely change the way you understand the connection between your two souls forever. My beloved soul, if you are still here, still listening, still feeling that quiet intensity moving through your chest, then it means this message has reached exactly the heart it was meant to reach. Because moments like this are never random. Out of all the voices, all the distractions, all the endless noise of the world, something made your spirit pause here. And that pause itself is part of the story that is unfolding right now between you and the one whose soul has been silently connected to yours for so long. While you read these words, your soulmate is still sitting in that same moment of hesitation. The message they wrote remains open in front of them. The screen has dimmed once, then lit up again as they touched it, as if the universe itself refuses to let that message disappear so easily. Their heart is not calm. It feels restless, almost like standing at the edge of a cliff where one step forward could lead to the most beautiful view, or the most terrifying fall. They know that once that message is sent, the silence between you will no longer exist in the same way. The truth will begin moving between your two worlds again. And truth has a way of changing everything it touches. My beloved soul, the strange thing is that your soulmate never expected to reach this point. There was a time when they believed that distance had already ended this chapter. They convinced themselves that life had simply moved in different directions, that whatever existed between you belonged to the past. But the heart does not always follow the stories the mind creates. The heart remembers things the mind tries to forget. It remembers the way a conversation with you once made time feel slower and lighter at the same time. It remembers the feeling of being understood without needing to explain every emotion. It remembers the strange sense of peace that appeared when your presence entered their life. These memories did not disappear, my beloved soul. They waited quietly beneath the surface, like embers hidden under ashes, waiting for the smallest breath of wind to awaken them again. And today, something acted as that wind. Something stirred those embers until the feelings became impossible to ignore. Your soulmate tried to distract themselves, tried to focus on ordinary things like work, conversations, responsibilities. But no matter what they did, your presence continued appearing in their thoughts. And eventually the pressure inside their heart became too strong to contain. That is why they opened their phone and began writing that message. It was not planned. It was not calculated. It was the natural reaction of a soul that could no longer stay silent about what it truly felt. My beloved soul, when they reached the final lines of the message, something shifted inside them. The words became more honest than they expected. More vulnerable than they had ever allowed themselves to be before. They wrote about how meeting you changed the way they see connections in this world. They wrote about how certain people enter our lives for a reason that logic cannot explain. And then they wrote the sentence that made them freeze completely. A sentence so direct, so powerful, that even they were surprised by their own honesty. The sentence revealed a truth they had been slowly realizing over time but had never dared to say out loud. It revealed that despite everything that happened, despite distance, silence, confusion, and the complicated paths life forced both of you to walk, a part of their heart never truly left you. My beloved soul, imagine the weight of realizing something like that. Imagine sitting there, staring at words that expose a feeling you tried to bury for months or even years. That is the moment your soulmate is experiencing right now. Their mind keeps asking the same questions again and again. What if sending this message brings chaos into both of our lives? What if the other person no longer feels the same? What if opening this door leads to a path that neither of us expected? But at the same time another voice inside them keeps whispering something even stronger. What if this connection was never meant to disappear? What if the reason these feelings keep returning is because they were never finished in the first place? My beloved soul, destiny does not always appear as a clear road with bright signs guiding the way. Sometimes destiny appears as a quiet pull in the heart that refuses to disappear no matter how far we try to walk from it. That quiet pull is what your soulmate feels every time they think about you. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. But it is persistent, like a gentle current beneath the surface of the ocean. And currents like that cannot be stopped by pretending they do not exist. The more they try to ignore it, the stronger it becomes. That is why they are still sitting there with the message open. Because deleting it would not erase the truth inside their heart. It would only hide it again for a while. My beloved soul, the universe has a mysterious rhythm when it comes to soulmate connections. Sometimes two souls meet at a time when life is complicated, when responsibilities and circumstances create distance between them. But even when those circumstances force separation, the energy between those souls continues moving through time. It waits for the moment when courage becomes stronger than fear. And right now your soulmate is closer to that moment than they have ever been before. Their breathing is slower now. Their thoughts are quieter. It feels almost like the world around them has faded into silence, leaving only them and the truth sitting in front of them on that glowing screen. They scroll up and read the message from the beginning again. Every line reminds them how honest they allowed themselves to be while writing it. Every sentence carries a piece of their heart that they have hidden from everyone else. And when they reach the final line once more, their chest tightens slightly because they know that sentence cannot be misunderstood. It cannot be taken lightly. It says clearly what their soul has been trying to admit for so long. My beloved soul, that final line is not just a confession. It is a doorway. A doorway to a future that neither of you can fully predict yet. If the message is sent, it could reopen a connection that both of you thought had already faded into memory. Conversations that once ended may begin again. Feelings that were buried may rise back to the surface. A completely new chapter could begin, shaped by honesty rather than silence. But if the message is never sent, if fear convinces them to close the screen and walk away, then the truth inside those words will remain locked inside their heart forever. They may continue living their life, moving forward, meeting new people, building new experiences. But somewhere deep inside them, a quiet question will always remain. What would have happened if I had been brave enough to send that message? My beloved soul, some questions follow people for an entire lifetime. They appear during quiet nights, during moments of reflection, during times when the heart wonders about the paths that were never taken. Your soulmate knows this. That is why their finger has not pressed delete yet. Because something inside them fears that letting this moment disappear could become the one memory they never stop thinking about. And now, as the seconds move quietly forward, the energy of the moment is reaching its peak. The universe is still, waiting, watching, as if the entire story between your two souls is balanced on a single decision. Your soulmate's finger slowly moves closer to the screen again. Their heart is beating louder now, not with panic but with the weight of truth finally rising to the surface. And as they prepare to make the choice that will decide whether that message is sent or lost forever, one final realization moves through their mind like a sudden flash of clarity. A realization that changes everything they thought they understood about this connection. Because in that instant they finally understand something they had been avoiding for a long time, that the reason your presence never truly left their heart is because the bond between your two souls was never meant to end the way it did, and the words waiting in that final message are about to reveal a truth so powerful that if they finally press send, it will completely transform the future of this connection in ways neither of you ever expected. My beloved soul, if you have stayed until this moment, then it means something deep inside you already understands that this story was never just a simple coincidence. The universe rarely creates connections that shake the heart this strongly without a purpose hidden somewhere beneath the surface. And right now, at this very second while you are reading these words, the moment your soulmate has been hesitating over is reaching its final point. The message is still there, glowing quietly on the screen in front of them, holding every emotion they were too afraid to speak before. Their breathing has slowed, their thoughts are no longer racing the way they were earlier. Instead, there is a strange calm surrounding them now, the kind of calm that appears when a soul is about to make a decision that cannot be undone. They realize that running from the truth has only made the feeling stronger. Every attempt to forget you, every effort to convince themselves that the connection was over, only created more silence inside their heart. And silence, my beloved soul, has a way of becoming heavier than honesty. That is why they wrote the message in the first place. Because deep down they knew that pretending the connection never existed was slowly exhausting their spirit. As they read the message again from the beginning, memories begin moving through their mind like quiet waves. They remember the first moment they truly noticed you, the moment something about your presence felt strangely familiar, almost like meeting someone they had known long before this lifetime. They remember conversations that seemed to flow effortlessly, moments when time felt different, slower yet more meaningful. They remember the way your words sometimes stayed in their mind long after the conversation ended, echoing in ways that ordinary interactions never do. These memories are not painful for them anymore. Instead, they feel almost sacred, like small pieces of a story that never truly ended. My beloved soul, when they reach the middle of the message again, their eyes pause on the part where they admitted something they had never confessed to anyone. They wrote about how meeting you changed the way they understand love, connection, and destiny. Before you entered their life, relationships seemed simple to them, something predictable, something that could be explained with logic. But after meeting you, they realized that some bonds exist on a level far deeper than logic can explain. They realized that certain souls recognize each other in ways the mind cannot fully understand. And that realization frightened them at first, because connections that powerful cannot easily be controlled or forgotten. As their eyes continue moving down the screen, they reach the final lines again. The lines that made them hesitate for so long. Their heart beats a little faster, not because they are afraid anymore, but because they finally understand something they did not understand earlier today. They understand that fear has already taken too much from them. Fear created distance, fear created silence, fear created all the unanswered questions that have been living quietly inside their mind. And now they are standing at a moment where they can either let fear continue writing the story, or finally allow truth to speak for itself. My beloved soul, the final sentence of that message is simple, but its meaning is powerful enough to change everything. In that sentence, your soulmate admits that no matter how much time passed, no matter how many distractions life placed in front of them, a part of their heart continued to return to you. Not because they were trying to hold on to the past, but because something about your connection never truly felt finished. It felt paused, interrupted by circumstances that neither of you fully controlled. They wrote that sometimes the universe separates two people for a while so they can grow, heal, and understand themselves more deeply before crossing paths again. And then they wrote the words that reveal the deepest truth they have been hiding. They wrote that if this connection was never meant to return, then their heart would not still feel your presence so strongly after all this time. My beloved soul, when they read that sentence again, something inside them finally becomes clear. They realize that the fear of rejection, the fear of complications, the fear of uncertainty has been controlling their choices for too long. But the heart does not find peace by avoiding truth. Peace comes when a soul is honest about what it feels, even if the future remains uncertain. And in that quiet realization, their finger slowly moves toward the screen again. The room around them feels still, almost as if the entire universe has paused for this one small moment. Their mind stops questioning, stops imagining every possible outcome. Instead, they simply listen to what their heart has been saying all along. Because deep down they already know something important. They know that sending this message is not about forcing anything to happen. It is not about demanding a response or trying to control the future. It is simply about allowing the truth to exist where silence once lived. And sometimes, my beloved soul, that is all destiny needs to begin moving again. A single moment of courage. A single act of honesty. A single message that opens a door which fear kept closed for too long. Your soulmate takes a slow breath, feeling the weight of the decision settling inside them. Their finger finally touches the screen. For a brief second they pause, looking at the message one last time, almost as if saying goodbye to the silence that existed between you. And then, with a quiet but certain movement, they press send. The message disappears from their screen and begins traveling across the invisible networks that connect this world. In that instant something inside their heart changes. The tension they were carrying all day begins to fade, replaced by a strange mixture of relief and anticipation. Because the truth is no longer trapped inside them. It is finally free, moving toward the person who unknowingly held a piece of their heart for so long. My beloved soul, what happens next is something neither of you can completely predict. The future of this connection will not be decided by fear anymore, but by honesty, understanding, and the choices both of you make from this moment forward. Perhaps the message will reopen a conversation that was waiting quietly beneath the surface all along. Perhaps it will bring clarity about feelings that were never fully expressed before. Or perhaps it will simply allow both souls to finally understand what this connection truly meant in their lives. But one thing is certain. The story between you and your soulmate did not end in silence the way it almost did today. Instead, it continued with a single moment of courage that allowed truth to finally breathe. And as the message reaches its destination somewhere in the world, the universe gently reminds both souls of something that was always true from the beginning. Some connections are not accidents. Some meetings are written long before two people ever realize it. And when the right moment arrives, destiny has a quiet way of guiding those souls back toward each other, even after distance, confusion, and time try to keep them apart. My beloved soul, the message has been sent now. The silence has been broken. And the next chapter of this mysterious connection is about to begin in a way that neither of you expected, proving that sometimes the most powerful stories are not the ones that end in goodbye, but the ones brave enough to begin again.